Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video we are going to finally be trying out the new NATASHA DENONA GLAM face palette. This one just arrived in the mail today and I just cannot wait to start playing with it. It obviously has this really beautiful mirrored metallic packaging that just loves fingerprints. Anyways, in today's video I'm going to be trying the shadows, the blush and highlighter. I'm going to be comparing the shadows to the shadows in the Glam palette just because I'm interested to see similarities and differences between the two. And of course I'm going to be telling you my overall thoughts on whether or not I like the palette and I think it's worth it. So if you are excited for the video, then just keep on watching. Alright, so for those of you who haven't seen it yet, here is NATASHA DENONA's newest palette. It is a face and eyes palette. It's got a blush, it's got a highlighter, and 5 different colored eyeshadows. This palette retails for $59 and it came out in 2 different shades. I got the light version of the palette and then here's a picture of the darker version of the palette. So if your complexion is medium or above, you might want to consider getting this one instead. I went ahead and got the lightest one, which at the moment I'm filming this video is back in stock at Sephora. And of course I'm going to be leaving you links down below to the palette as well as everything else that I'm wearing on my face today. So if you're interested in any of the products I'll be talking about today, definitely check the links down in the description box of the video. So this NATASHA DENONA GLAM palette is an everyday palette that creates super dramatic smoky eyes as well as a variety of natural and extreme glam looks. It is free of parabens and cruelty free. The palette includes shades named after the ideal place to apply them, helping you create glam makeup looks. It's as if you have special insider makeup tips from NATASHA DENONA herself when you apply these shadows. This Star Glow highlighter right here looks very different from the highlighters from NATASHA DENONA that I have tried before. I feel like NATASHA DENONA's highlighters I love, by the way, but they usually have this like really impactful smooth shine to them and not necessarily like glitter particles in them. And this one right here, I do see that it's got some glitz and glam in the eyeshadow formula, so I'm very curious to see how that applies on my face. And then the cream blush, let me just go ahead and swatch it to see. It has a really beautiful natural finish. I was a little bit deceived by the texture that it has on top, but it does look like it has a really beautiful natural finish to them. What I have on my face right now is foundation, concealer. I set the concealer with a tiny bit of powder and then I went ahead and applied my KVD Mod Con contour thing to the perimeters of my face. So I just have a little bit of color down on top of my foundation and I'm pretty ready to go in with the blush and highlighter. Before I go ahead and apply them though, I want to go ahead and show you swatches of both. So here is the blush color and it's just called Cream Blush. And then here's the here's the highlighter. Wow. Okay. And this is called Star Glow. That highlighter definitely packs a punch. And I really do feel like these are both colors that I will enjoy putting on my face. So let's just go ahead and get to it. I have to admit to you guys that when I first saw this palette online, I was like, how boring. Like really, that's what's new, that's what's coming, that's what's exciting. And then I saw you guys get excited about it and then I started wondering, well, maybe it's actually good. Maybe it's not that bad. And then once it came out, before I even placed my order, I saw the texture of the blush and I was like, wait a minute. Maybe this is something that I will actually like and enjoy. And now that I have it in front of me, I know that I haven't played with it yet, but I can see this being very, very useful, especially because if you take this palette with you anywhere, you literally do not need anything else except for bronzer. Like this has the blush, the highlighter, and very wearable eyeshadows that you can use for any occasion. So again, I will let you guys know at the end of the video how I feel about it, but I'm a lot more excited about it than my first impressions of it, and I definitely purchased it because you guys were excited about it more than because I was excited about it. Okay, let's go ahead and start with the blush. This right here is a Sephora collection number 56 brush, and I'm just going to tap it in here and start applying the blush to my cheeks. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I prefer subtle blushes rather than very dark or intense blushes. So that right there is right up my alley. I wouldn't even build it much more than it's built right now because it's subtle, it gives me a little bit of color, and it's not too like, oh my god, so much blush. You know, like I like my blushes to blend nicely into my bronzer, and I feel like this right here is pretty much exactly what I look for in a blush. So obviously, so far so good. Let me put it on this side right here. I feel like 2021 has definitely been the year of blushes for me, because not only did a lot of brands that I love come out with blushes this year, but I've actually been a lot more into blush than I ever was before. With that said, I do still prefer them to be subtle the way this one is, but you know, every once in a while I'll take risks with my blushes nowadays. I'm gonna put a little bit right here in the center of my forehead. I like to put a little bit of blush, barely any, but I do like to put a little bit right here where my bronzer and my foundation meet, like right in the middle. And I think that's kind of flattering. It gives your face a little bit more color. Same thing with the chin. Okay, what do you guys think? I love the texture, love the color, love the finish. I think it looks really, really natural. And this color blush, if you have light skin like me, I could literally wear this blush with anything. It's pretty neutral, so it could go with cool toned looks and with warm toned looks as well. Loving that so far. By this swatch right here, I know that I like the color and the intensity of the highlighter, but I'm scared that it's going to enhance the texture on my cheeks. So let's go ahead and try it and find out, clear out our doubts. I'm going in with a Wayne number 4 brush right here. I'm scared. Let's just put a bit right here. The highlighter is potent, okay? The highlighter is definitely not here to play. She's like, I have arrived, look at me, I am shiny and glorious and there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, that is quite a lot of highlighter. I'm trying to blend it in a little bit, soften it. I didn't know this was going to be a lot and I still went ahead and did it, didn't I? I grabbed a teeny tiny bit more blush right here and I'm just going to blend the blush in. Okay, here we have it. The great news, the fantastic news, the outstanding news is that I do not see my texture being enhanced by this highlighter. And you guys saw how potent the highlighter was. It was like beaming at my face, and yet my texture does not look emphasized. I'm really impressed so far. I really like this. Let's do the other side of my face right here. I grabbed a lot less highlighter so that I don't have to blend it down as much. In my first cheek, I had just grabbed way too much product. Take a look right here. See, this time I just put less and I added a little bit at a time as I went so that I would match my other cheek, and I still don't have any troubles with texture on my face. I don't feel like my texture or my pores look enhanced at all, and the highlighter looks beautiful. I would dare say already that the cheek colors in this palette are approved by me. Really like them both. So now let's move on to the eyeshadows, which they're NATASHA DENONA eyeshadows and they are like beautiful neutral shades. So I don't know what's not to like about that, but let's just put them on. Before I start on the eye look, just take a look at these shades. Let's go ahead and swatch them. Here's the color Inner Corner. Then we have the color Transition, followed by the color Crease, the color Outer Corner next, which is this beautiful gold shimmer right here. And then last but not least, the color Smoke. So just take a look right here at the 5 beautiful shades. I can definitely tell you that I'm really liking the shimmers in this palette for sure. I feel like in the last several reviews of Natasha Denona palettes I've made, like the review of the Retro palette, the review of the Zendo palettes, I don't remember what others, but whenever I've reviewed Natasha Denona eyeshadows this year, I have been telling you guys that I'm missing the glitz. Like, nothing is as shimmery and as fun. She has made these past few palettes be a little bit more serious in a sense. Like, the palettes have shimmers in them, but they're not super glitzy, shimmery shimmers like these right here. And again, I'm going to pull out my Glam palette. I'm very interested in comparing Glam shades with these shades right here, but these are fun. I cannot wait to put this on my eyelid. I cannot wait to put this on my eyelid. These are definitely the types of shimmers that I always look forward to putting on my eyelids. And also, let's say that you are on a business trip and you want to take this palette because it's convenient, but you don't want to have this much glitz and glam. You can totally create beautiful, very serious daytime office looks with just the 3 matte shades that come in this palette and save your shimmers for evening and nighttime. I don't know, truly, the more I see this palette for what it is and I think of like how convenient it is to have it, the more I like it. And at first, again, I was like, that's boring. But now I really see it. I got you guys a little closer to my face and I'm pretty much going to do exactly what Natasha wants us to do with her palette, except for like one little adjustment, which I'll tell you about once we get there. So first, I'm using the transition shade as my transition shade. And I'm using my Refer number 16 brush for this. Yes, Refer number 16 for the color transition. And this color transition is like a beautiful taupey with like a rose undertone to it. Not too rose. It's like a beigey rose type of undertone. I really like it. Same thing on this side right here. Transition color on both eyes. Really nice and natural looking. So then I'm going to go into the crease of my eye with the color crease. And I'm using my Refer number 1 brush all throughout the crease of the eye. And this is just a little bit more of a mid-tone brown shade. It'll just darken things up a little bit. And of course, it blends absolutely beautifully into that first color we applied. And these mattes are totally like all Natasha Denona mattes. They are absolutely perfect. I think Natasha Denona's matte shadow formula is the best matte shadow formula in existence, at least from every palette in my collection. I think Natasha's mattes are so consistent and just so good. They are easy to blend and easy to build and just give you really beautiful eye looks. Now, if you were somewhere work related with this palette, I would just take the transition color, the first color we put on, I would have put it on my eyelid and then just darken things up with the crease shade, and that would be it. That would be the eye look for the day, or even with one of the matte shades just all over and blended it on the crease, and that could be a beautiful eye look for a daytime business type of setting. Of course, I'm going to keep going because I want to use all 5 of the shades, and so I want to use the shimmers, but I definitely think that these colors here that I've put on so far are very work appropriate. So now I'm going to darken things up a little bit more with the color Smoke, which is the darkest color that comes in this palette, and I'm using my Refer number 14 brush to smoke this color on the outer V of the eye. So I'm just focusing it right here and blending it into the crease color ever so slightly, just right there. So I'm putting the smoke shade on the outer corner. I guess that's the first little adjustment I'm making. Instead of just smoking out the outer corner with it, which I am also doing, I'm putting it on the outer third of my eyelid as well. So just back and forth with my Refer number 14. I'm grabbing that same shade, this time with my Refer number 13, which is a little bit smaller of a blending brush. And I'm going to smoke my lower lash line with it, just back and forth. And then once again with that same brush, I'm going to get the color Transition. And I'm going to smoke down even further. Okay, so now we've gotten to the fun part, and the color Outer Corner, instead of putting it on the outer corner of my eye, I already have a matte brown right there. I'm going to just grab it with my finger. I'm going to put it in the center of my eyelid. I should have been more careful because that fell out right there. Totally my fault. I grabbed too much of that shimmer shade. Remember, this is the first time I used this palette, so usually it takes a while to get used to how something performs. Let me see if I can take the shimmer away. I was very easily able to take the shimmer away. What I did was I put my head down so that it would just fall, and I wiped it off with my brush a little bit, and it fell right off. I don't see anything left behind, which is a great thing. I feel like if I went like this just for the camera, it would have probably stayed because I wouldn't have gravity helping me dust it off. Alrighty, I'm grabbing a little bit more and just patting on the center of the eyelid here. And I blended it into that outer corner shade ever so slightly right there. Grab some more on this finger and I'm putting it on this eye as well. See, this time I don't have fallout because I knew not to grab too much. It's such a beautiful pigmented shimmer shade, wow. So all over the center of the eyelid here. And now with my reference number 28, I'm going to grab the color Inner Corner. And I'm going to put it on the inner third of my eyelid and blend it in ever so slightly. And also on the inner corner right here. Same thing over here. And then a little bit more smoke on my reference number 14. And I'm just going to blend it from the outermost corner of the eye forward. Okay, so I'm done with the eyeshadows, and this right here is my look. Super simple, but very, very glamorous. I'm going to put on a brown eyeliner in my waterline. This one is Rich Brown from Patrick Ta. I went ahead and curled my lashes with my Refer eyelash curler, and I put on my Pat McGrath Dark Star mascara, which I have a new tube of, and oh my god, do I love that mascara. Anyways, here is the look once my mascara is on. Let me just put on some lipstick and I'll tell you guys my final thoughts on this palette. Okay, I'm back. Lipstick on. I went ahead and applied lipstick and lip liner from Charlotte Tilbury. Now let me go ahead and do some swatch comparisons between this palette and colors from the Glam palette by Natasha Denona. This right here is the color Inner Corner from this palette, which is this color right here, and I'm going to compare it with this Inner Corner from the center of the top row of the Glam palette. I have it right here on my finger. As you can see, they look pretty close, and let's swatch them next to one another here. Okay, here's how those two shades compare. It's apparent on camera, but it's even more apparent in real life that the glitzy shade from this palette here has even more shimmer and more like Baba Boom than the one from the Glam palette, although this one is not bad. This one is a pretty shimmery shade as well, but you guys can see how much more reflective this one is, which is definitely something that I really love about this one. Next, I'm going into this color Transition, and the closest thing from the Glam palette is this color blend right here. And you can immediately see that they are different right there on my finger. So this right here is Transition, and this is the color blend, which like I said is the most similar one to it from the Glam palette. But you guys can see that they're not similar at all. The only color called Transition in this one is this one right here, and this has nothing to do with this Transition here. They do not look alike at all. So the one I thought looked the most similar was Blend, and as you can see, it really isn't too similar at all. Okay, so then we're going into this color Crease, and this color Crease, which once again, I don't think that they're too similar. They don't look too similar. So here is the color Crease, which it's more similar to this color right here than I think it will be to this color Crease, yeah. These two are definitely more similar than these or these. So I'm glad I put them together there because you can definitely see it. Then we have the color Outer Corner. And I really don't see this color comparing to many of these. So I'll go ahead and compare it with Center Eyelid here. But they have different undertones. This one's much more gold bronzy and this one's much more like a rose gold copper type of shade. And you can see how even though this one has a lot of shine to it, this one's got that glitzy, extra glittery thing to it that I really love. So lastly, we have the color Smoke right here. And we are going to compare it with this color Smoke on this palette. Smoke from the face palette, Smoke from the eyeshadow palette. So that is how those two compare right there. This one's much more cool tone and this one has a bit more warmth to it right here. Okay, I went ahead and turned the light back up and this is how the colors compare right here. Obviously there are lots of like similar vibes from both palettes, but I really couldn't find an exact dupe for any shade except maybe these two right here. Nothing else looks exactly like the other color, which means that if you already have the Glam palette and you, like me, because I was totally thinking this, were thinking it's not worth it for me to get this one because I already have those shades. No, you don't. You don't have those shades. These are actually a little bit different. And like I said, I feel like this is just a really good palette to travel with. I feel like whenever I go anywhere next, I would definitely be taking this with me. I'm obsessed with the blush color. I'm obsessed with the highlighter. These are definitely eyeshadows that I feel 100% comfortable wearing to any event, any occasion, and they're pretty versatile. I told you guys you can make this look very daytime work appropriate, or you can make it look very glamorous the way that I'm wearing it right now. So now that I see how this palette can be very functional and how beautiful and glamorous it actually is, do I think it's worth it? My one last thing that I was kind of having an issue with was the price, because it is a $59 palette, but then I thought about it, and Natasha Denona mini palettes are $25 and what you get is 5 shades, which is the same amount of shades as you get in this one here. So let's say that the 5 eyeshadows are the $25. We still have $34 left. So the blush and highlighter are $34, which if you divide it by 2, you're basically paying $17 for a blush and $17 for a highlighter. These are very richly pigmented, high performing, luxury quality blush products. Both of them are extremely nice. So if you think about it, $17 for each one of those is not a huge deal, and I do think that the palette is worth it. But especially now that we are in the middle of Sephora having a sale and this palette came back in stock, if you can get this palette for 20% off or 15% off if you're a Rouge or a VIB, then it's even more worth it in my opinion. So all I have to say is thank you so much for pushing me to get this palette. I definitely was not for it at first. Then I was like, well, just to review it, I'll get it. And then now I truly get it. You know, like I get the excitement. I get the fact that it's very, very functional. To be honest, if I could change anything about it, what I would change is the way that this is set up. I feel like there's a lot of wasted space in here. You can have the 5 shadows close together to the size that a mini palette comes with, and then make these two a little closer as well, and you could actually have a much more compact palette than this one is. Don't get me wrong, in comparison to like the Glam palette for instance, it's a smaller palette, but if the purpose of this palette is to have something that is very useful and that you can easily travel with it and that it's very multifunctional, which it is, you could have made it even smaller and more compact to kind of fit that benefit better. So if I could change anything about it, I would just make it a little bit smaller packaging wise. But it's a really, really beautiful, very functional palette. And I definitely love the fact that I can kind of get it all in there. The blush, the highlighter, and the eyeshadow. So it is a 10 out of 10 for me. I absolutely love the performance of every single shade in the palette. I loved how everything applied. Everything was so pigmented, so blendable. Everything felt luxurious going on. I had zero struggles with any of the products that came in the palette, and so if you've been thinking about it, I do recommend that you get it. Is it a necessity? No, you might have similar things to these in your collection, but if you are planning to taking a trip anywhere or just want something functional, maybe you just don't have a large collection and you want something functional that you'll reach for on a daily basis, I do think that this palette is a really nice palette, and it is very functional, and I love the shades of them. Okay, so those are my final thoughts. If you think it'll fit your collection or your lifestyle and you're wondering about it and you want it, definitely go for it because you will have zero regrets. If you guys liked the video, don't forget to please give it a thumbs up before you leave. If you're new to my channel, my name is Patty, and I would love it if you were here to stay, so please don't leave without subscribing. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you back in the next video. Bye!